محمد صلوات اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد۔ تم نے سمجھا ہے کہ بس در خیبر ہی گراتا ہے علی، تم نے سمجھا ہے کہ بس در خیبر ہی گراتا ہے علی، یا فقط جرت میدان ہی دکھاتا ہے علی۔ میرے مولا کی شجاعت کا انداز تو دیکھ، میرے مولا کی شجاعت کا انداز تو دیکھ، کہ اپنے سوئے ہوئے قاتل کو بھی جگاتا ہے علی۔ Brothers and sisters, as you know that inshallah we'll be holding a third Majalis of the series of 3 Majalis to commemorate the Shahadat of Amir al-Mu'mineen Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. I once again offer my sincere condolences to all my brothers and sisters in Iman, in particular our Maraje, and especially to Imam of our time, Imam al-Hujjah, Imam Mahdi Ajalallahu Ta'ala Farajhum. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We'll start the program with the recitation of Salam and Marsiya. For that, I would like to request Brother Sajjad Zaidi to please come forward. Please welcome him with the loud salawat. Allahumma salli.
Recite aloud salawat. I will inshallah recite one salam in Urdu, which will be followed by a marsiya by Brother Jafar Sayyid. But before I recite that salam, I would like to recite one short rubai, which is Urdu poetry by a very famous poet, Qayyam Azmi. And in this 2 stanzas that I will recite for you, he is really pointing towards one of the strongest characteristics to be a true Muslim, which is our own kirdar, how we behave and how we present ourselves. And he is using Imam Ali, which was the best of the kirdar that we know after Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi wa sallam. So in this poetry, he's advising us to really work on our kirdar. Recite another salawat. دوستوں باد آئے الفت کے طلبگار بنو، بزم میں پھول تو میدان میں تلوار بنو، بہر حق سیسا پلائی ہوئی دیوار بنو، زندہ رہنا ہے تو پھر صاحب کردار بنو، زندہ رہنا ہے تو پھر صاحب کردار بنو، کامیابی کا سبب درہم و دینار نہیں، کامیابی کا سبب درہم و دینار نہیں، اسلحہ قوم کا کردار ہے تلوار نہیں، اسلحہ قوم کا کردار ہے تلوار نہیں، اور آدمی صاحب کردار اگر ہو جائے، سنگریزوں کو اٹھا لے تو گوہر ہو جائے، ظلمت شب سے جو کہہ دے تو سحر ہو جائے، اور گر ہو در بند تو دیوار میں در ہو جائے، گر ہو در بند تو دیوار میں در ہو جائے، کام کردار سے جب اہل وفا لیتے ہیں، کام کردار سے جب اہل وفا لیتے ہیں، انگلیوں سے درے خیبر کو اٹھا لیتے ہیں، انگلیوں سے درے خیبر کو اٹھا لیتے ہیں، دوستوں بعد آئے الفت کے طلبگار بنو، درود پڑھیے محمد۔ In this salam, which is obviously it's also in Urdu, in this poetry, the poet is really trying to bring the time when Imam Ali was struck during prayers and in his sajda, and he's talking about that incident, and also talking about when Imam Ali was on his deathbed and he was talking to his sons and daughters. Keeping that in mind, inshallah, please listen to this. Help me with another louder salawat. لہو لہو ہے مصلی، لہو لہو ہے جبین، لہو لہو ہے مصلی، لہو لہو ہے جبین، لہو لہو ہے مصلی، اے ظلم دیکھ کہیں، اے ظلم دیکھ کہیں، دل نبی تو نہیں، لہو لہو ہے مصلی، لہو لہو ہے جبین، لہو لہو ہے مصلی، ابھی تو کوفے کی زینب تو شاہزادی ہے، مگر پدر نے تجھے یہ خبر سنا دی ہے کہ بازوؤں میں رسن، کہ بازوؤں میں رسن تیرے بندھے گی یہیں، لہو لہو ہے مصلی، لہو لہو
ہے جبیں، لہو لہو ہے مصلی. کہو یہ ہاتف غیبی سے یوں ندا نہ کرے، دعا کرو کہیں زینب یہ کو یہ خبر نہ ملے. دعا کرو کہیں زینب کو یہ خبر نہ ملے. حرم کے سر سے ردا، حرم کے سر سے ردا سرک نہ جائے کہیں، لہو لہو ہے مصلی. عجیب یاس سے غازی کی سمت دیکھتے ہیں، گلا حسین کا زینب کے ہاتھ چومتے ہیں. عجیب یاس سے غازی کی سمت دیکھتے ہیں، گلا حسین کا زینب کے ہاتھ چومتے ہیں. مگر علی یہ ولی، مگر علی یہ ولی کلام کرتے نہیں، لہو لہو ہے مصلی. لہو لہو ہے جبیں، لہو لہو ہے مصلی. یہ وار کس پہ ہوا ہے، لرز گیا کعبہ، لب حیات پہ ٹھہری ہوئی ہے کن کی صدا. فلک ہے نوحہ کنا، فلک ہے نوحہ کنا، تو ماتمی ہے زمین، لہو لہو ہے مصلی. ادھر جہان سے حسنین کا گزرتا ہے، تمام کوفہ ہی لیکن یتیم لگتا ہے. یتیم آج ہوا، یتیم آج ہوا، خدا رسول کا دین، لہو لہو ہے مصلی. یہ بین کرتی ہیں زینب نہ جائیے بابا، لپٹ کے غازی سے کلثوم نے کیا گریا. تڑپ رہے ہیں حسن، تڑپ رہے ہیں حسن، کہیں حسین کہیں، لہو لہو ہے مصلی. کیا ہے ظلم یہ کیسا دل پیمبر پر، ہوا ہے حالت روزہ میں وار ہے در پر. باقی سے کوفہ چلی، باقی سے کوفہ چلی، ہے فاطمہ بھی حزین، لہو لہو ہے مصلی، لہو لہو ہے جبین، لہو لہو ہے مصلی۔ اے ظلم دیکھ کہیں، اے ظلم دیکھ کہیں، دل نبی تو نہیں، لہو لہو ہے مصلی۔
صلوات پڑھی محمد والے۔
فاتحہ پڑھ۔ محمد وعلی محمد صلوات۔ 21ویں کی رات قیامت کی رات تھی، سادات پر بلا کی مصیبت کی رات تھی، محشر کی صبح تھی کہ شہادت کی رات تھی، بیٹوں سے بتراب کی رخصت کی رات تھی، کہتے تھے دل دو نیم ہے، ایسا خطر ہے آج، بیزاد راہ خلق سے اپنا سفر ہے آج، شبر میرے یتیموں کو شفقت سے پالیو، تم اپنے نانا جان کے گھر کو سنبھالیو، شبیر پر بلا کوئی آئے تو ٹالیو، دیکھو کڑی نگاہ بھی اس پر نہ ڈالیو، اس کا لحاظ چاہیے تم کو کہ خرد ہے بیٹا میرا حسین، تمہارے سپرد ہے، غل پڑ گیا کہ سید ابرار مر گئے، لو جانشی میں احمد مختار مر گئے، دین رسول پاک کے سردار مر گئے، ماتم کرو کہ ہے درے کرار مر گئے، روئی جو بیبیاں تو پسر پیٹنے لگے، عباس ننھے ہاتھوں سے سر پیٹنے لگے، کیوں کر بیان کیجئے وہ حشر کا سما، بیٹے ادھر تڑپتے تھے اس سے تو بیٹیاں، ہر سو کہیں بکا کہیں شیون کہیں فغاں، بکھرا کے بال زینب مستر کا یہ بیان، بابا آخر شب میں تہیا کدھر کیا ہے مہ سیام میں عزم سفر کیا ہے مہ سیام میں عزم سفر کیا، 21ویں کی رات، صلوات
جزاک اللہ Sajjad bhai and Jafar bhai. May Bibi Sayyida Fatima Zahra Salamullah alaiha accept your pursa. Recite a loud salawat for them. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. بچے یتیم ہونے کو ہیں اور عید ہے قریب، بچے یتیم ہونے کو ہیں اور عید ہے قریب، تڑپے اسی خیال میں حیدر تمام رات. Recite a salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Before I invite Maulana, if I can request all brothers to kindly move forward as you recite a salawat. Can you please stand up and take a couple steps ahead? Jazakallah. If I can request the same thing from sisters, if you can move forward. We're getting requests from the volunteers. to have everybody move up just a couple of steps. So please stand up as you take 2 steps forward. If I can humbly request sisters to please move forward. Recite a salawat. Muhammad. At this time, I would like to request Hujjatul Islam, Maulana Reza Hemyari, to please come forward and address the community. Bar Muhammad Wale Muhammad Salawat.
الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وبه نستعين إنه خير ناصر ومعين. ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين، سيما بقية الله في الأراضين وحجته على الخلق أجمعين. واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم من الآن إلى يوم الدين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أما بعد، فقد قال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يؤتي الحكمة من يشاء ومن يؤت الحكمة فقد أوتي خيرا كثيرا وما يذكر إلا أولو الألباب. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وعلى اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. To our ulama, brothers and sisters in Iman, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In the past few nights, we've been talking about how to live a good life as a human being to our fullest potential. Last night we mentioned that the Prophet of Allah, Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, did not just come and give us the principles upon which we can live and arrange our lives, but as well in those moments of conflict, He gave us the priorities that we have to choose amongst those principles. And then we said there are moments in our lives, and many times we might find these moments, particular in this country, where not just those principles and not even just those priorities, they just don't seem to be enough to allow us to move forward and past certain dilemmas and certain conflicts that we have in our lives. Sometimes we find that even the more religious we are and the more we stick and adhere to our principles, sometimes our lives become even more difficult. And we find this in particular for those who are even more principled. We see that sometimes they live caricatured lives. They are distant from their families, distant from their communities, or even they are less charitable than they should be, less merciful or compassionate than they should be. Sometimes the more principled we are, the harder the stance that we take, the more difficult our lives become. And so Islam did not just give us those principles. It did not just give us the priorities even between those, but it gave us examples of human beings that are perfect, that we can model our own lives based upon their lives. It gave us, in other words, perfect human beings. I gave this example last night of a machine that can learn as much information as you can feed it, and whether that machine is going to be enough to give us the answers to the very difficult questions in our lives. These ethical dilemmas that sometimes we have that have no easy answer. Just a couple examples that maybe can resonate with us. Imagine you are in a city and you have a decision to make. Either I stay in that city surrounded by my parents, my family, and I take care of my parents, which is an obligation that I have. But unfortunately, my city does not have the proper schooling, Islamic school, or even private schools, or even public schools that live up to my standards. And so now my question becomes, do I stay in this city and I serve my parents or my family, or do I move somewhere else where there is a Islamic school I can enroll my kids? Alhamdulillah, in Chicago, Allah has blessed us with all of the blessings that we can ask for, and so we have proper Islamic schools. But for other people in other cities, there is this question, this serious dilemma, and what is the best answer? You can't just put it into a computer and get the right answer. On the one hand, you have the priority of your parents. On the other hand, you have your obligation towards your kids. So which one do you choose? Sometimes, as students, we have this question as well. My parents are telling me that I have to go and be the best in my career. I have to go on this track that's going to take 10 years, maybe even longer, and is going to put me in a mound of debt. So do I listen to my parents, or do I take that track? And it might even force me to move far away. I might have a certain talent that is the right talent for this career. I might be particularly smart, right? Might have other capabilities that put me in the right position to become an expert in this field. And if I put all of my resources, if I sacrifice everything, I can become that expert. But sacrifice means I sacrifice my connection to my family, maybe even I sacrifice my connection to my community. And so what do I do? All of these different priorities, and I have to make the decision now. How do I make that decision? For us, sometimes we have the benefit of scholars, of muttaqeen, of people who are experts in our field, or experts at least in that question. And sometimes we have to go to people who make good decisions and can help me navigate this process. If Allah has placed those people in my life, I have to thank Allah that He has given me someone that I can consult. Because Allah, He gives hidayah through these consultations. And so I should go and ask. Those people who are ethical and moral in my life, so that maybe they can guide me through this process. But as well, Allah has given us examples in human history, so that we can set the bar higher, expand our horizons for what it means to be a human being. Because all of the information that we might have and all of the knowledge that we might seek and we might attain cannot give us the answer to these questions if we don't have that moral principle and that moral compass in our lives. that discernment that allows us to navigate those processes. And so sometimes when we ask ourselves, can AI or can computers replace human beings? In fact, what we are doing is we are lowering the bar and we are saying that we are no better than an information machine. We are no better than a machine that can grab and can accumulate all of that information, and it can make just as good a moral decision as I can. So we have to set the bar higher for ourselves. What does it mean to be a good human being? I want to just recite these lines of poetry. These are in Persian, but they are very beautiful and very to the point. تن آدمی شریف است به جان آدمیت نه همین لباس زیباست نشان آدمیت. This body of a human being, this is a noble body, but only insofar as it has humanity, and that's lifeblood of humanity and being humane within it. It is not just for me to don these clothes of being a human being. That is only a sign for what it means to be a human being, but it is that soul within me. اگر آدمی به چشم است و دهان و گوش و بینی چه میان نقش دیوار و میان آدمیت. If being human means simply having eyes and ears and a nose and a mouth, then what's the difference between a portrait that I can draw and put on the wall and between a human being? رسد آدمی به جایی که به جز خدا نبیند. رسد آدمی به جایی که به جز خدا نبیند. بنگر که تا چه حد است مکان آدمیت. A human being can reach a state where he sees none other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so now think, what is the limit and what is the capacity of a human being? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. In fact, when we look in the teachings of the Quran, Allah does not point to our knowledge, does not even point to our deeds, not to our money or our wealth or our family. On the Day of Judgment, when we have been placed in our graves and everything has been taken away from us, the one thing that will remain for a human being, the most important treasure that we can have in the court of Allah, is a pure heart, a purified heart. That is the only thing. Not our Muslimness even, not even being a mu'min and part of the community of the Ahlul Bayt. In the Quran, Allah talks about Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam and how he came face to face with his community. And then Nabi Ibrahim, he raises his hands and he turns towards Allah and he prays to God. He says, Rabbi habli hukma wa alhiqni bis salihin. Oh my Lord, give me and bestow me with wisdom and make me be amongst the salihin, those who do good. And then he prays for his father, his adopted father, and for the community. And then he says, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ. On the Day of Judgment, when nothing is going to save us, not our families and not our wealth, not my status, not my bank account, nothing, even my knowledge, even my good deeds, none of that is going to matter. إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. My knowledge and my good deeds, insofar as they give me a pure heart, then that will save me. The only thing that will save us in the face of God is going to be a pure heart. And that is the difference, brothers and sisters. If we can attain that pure heart, on a night like this, the 21st of the month of Ramadan, this is what we ask Allah. That, oh Allah, in all of our du'as, in all of our salawat, in all of these fasts that we have done for you in this year, oh Allah, give us that pure heart. But as I said, Islam has also given us the best of examples. We want to create this heart for ourselves. We want to understand what it means to be a good and pure human being. If you want to be a good painter, you don't have to just practice, you have to go and see what is a beautiful painting look like. If you want to know how to be a good parent, a good father or a good mother, don't just practice, but go and find a good father or a good mother and see how do they interact with their children. How do they deal with those moments of conflict where there are no good solutions? That is the best way that we can learn. So we want to tonight find the person with the most purest of hearts. Let us look to none other than Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. A person who was able to contain within himself the most conflicting and contradictory of traits. This is how Sharif al-Radhi, the compiler of Nahj al-Balagha, he describes Amir al-Mu'mineen. He says, when people would come and ask me about Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Ali, I would tell them that Amir al-Mu'mineen was a person who combined within his soul contradictory and conflicting traits. When you hear the words of Amir al-Mu'mineen, you might think that he was the most ascetic of people. He would go out into the mountains and he would pray to God and he would fast and he would not have anything to do with this world. A zahid in the truest of meanings. But then this is the same person who was at the forefront of every battle of Islam. When the Prophet would ask amongst the Muslims who is going to vanquish these enemies, it was none other than Amir al-Mu'mineen. And so, on the one hand, he is a true believer and a true worshipper of Allah. But then, on the other hand, he is the man of the battle. He is the ultimate warrior of Islam. And my point here is that for us to get and go beyond those conflicts and try to resolve those dilemmas in our lives, we need to bring together these conflicting values. We need to have courage. We need to have taqwa. And we need to also have patience. And we need to be quiet sometimes. Sometimes we need to yell at the top of our lungs that there is an injustice being done here. And sometimes we need to be silent. Sometimes we need to know what it means to do ibadah, and sometimes we need to know what it means to work hard and be successful in our lives. And so we look in the life of Amir al-Mu'mineen. You see, we talked about qalbin salim, what it means to have a pure heart, what it means to have knowledge. It is said that one day Amir al-Mu'mineen, he was sitting on the pulpit, on the minbar, and he called to the people of Kufa. There are different contexts and reports about when Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Ali, said these words. It is said that at one moment, he said them in the city of Kufa. He said, Saluni qabla an tafqiduni. Ask me before you lose me and before I have departed from amongst you. It is said that Amir al-Mu'mineen had the wisdom and had the knowledge of Rasulullah, that Allah had opened 1,000 doors of knowledge to Rasulullah, And from within each one of those doors, 1,000 more doors were opened to Rasulullah. And these were secrets that Allah had not opened for anyone else but to Rasulullah. But now it is that same knowledge, those same doors that Rasulullah opens for Amirul Mu'mineen. And so he gives those thousands upon thousands of doors of knowledge to Amirul Mu'mineen. And here Amirul Mu'mineen says, Saluni qabla an tafqiduni. Ask me before you lose me. Ask me about your fiqh. Ask me about your history. Ask me about the sunnah of Rasulullah. Because it was in the city of Kufa and during the time of Amirul Mu'mineen that the sunnah of Rasulullah was being put under the feet of the Muslims. It is a very difficult history after the death of the Prophet of Allah. But it is said that when the Prophet of Allah passed away, all of these expansions and these wars and these battles that the Muslims engaged in, this brought all of the treasure of those cities into the Muslim Ummah. Muslims were killed because they were called Murtad, because they were not willing to send their zakat to a city of Medina that had now moved on and had chosen a Khalifa that they had not heard about, that they had not given their bay'ah to. And so they were withholding their zakat, and these same Muslims are now attacked as being murtad and outside of the fold of Islam by the Khalifa who is supposed to be the successor of the Prophet. And then later on, the wealth comes and is accumulated in the city of Medina. And it is said that in front of the Khalifatul Muslimin, Khalifatullah is what they would call him, they come and pile up this gold and this silver and all of this treasure. And now those same companions who once upon a time were Ahlus Sufa and they were pious and they were ascetic, now they are eyeing this treasure and they're saying, okay, this part is going to be mine, and that part is going to be mine, and this part is going to be for my tribe, and that part is going to be for my tribe. Like vultures, they were surrounding the treasure of the Muslims, the wealth of the Muslims. It was supposed to be dispersed amongst the Muslims. And now Amirul Mu'mineen is seeing this. And as I mentioned last night, Amirul Mu'mineen makes a difficult choice. He says, وَفِي الْعَيْنِ قَدَى وَفِي الْحَلْقِ شَجَى. I saw that the Khilafat was being taken away, not just that this was a right for me, but that the Sunnah of the Prophet is now being put under the feet of these Muslims. And it is being disregarded. And now I have this difficult choice, but I held back because there was a higher priority. Now, Amirul Mu'mineen is saying, come and ask me about the Sunnah of Rasulullah. Come and ask me whatever it is you might need. Because أَنَا بِطُرُقِ السَّمَاءِ أَعْلَمُ مِنْهُ بِطُرُقِ الْأَرْضِ. I am more knowledgeable about the paths of the heavens than I am about these dealings of you on this earth. So ask me whatever question you might have. And then there was a companion of the Imam called Dhi'lib. He asked the Imam, have you seen your Lord? It's a very famous hadith. My point is the end of that hadith. How does the Imam respond? He says, O Dhi'lib, waylak, ya Dhi'lib. How could I worship a Lord that I have not seen? And then the Imam says, and then Dhi'lib says, well, how have you seen him? Where have you seen him? I thought this was a Lord that was beyond our sight. And now I am surprised by your answer, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. Where have you seen him, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen? And then the Imam responds. He sees the capacity of Dhi'lib and the people around him, and he responds in the best possible way. لم تره العيون بمشاهدة الأبصار ولكن رأته القلوب بحقائق الإيمان. Eyes cannot see Allah. Ears cannot hear Allah. Because Allah is not material, nor is He defined. Qalb, that qalbin salim, that thing that is our connection to God, that is what gives us the ability to see Allah. بَلْ رَأَتْهُ الْقُلُوبِ بِحَقَائِقِ الْإِيمَانِ. Rather, our hearts can see Allah through the depths of our iman. In other words, brothers and sisters, the Imam is saying that our qulub is our connection to the infinite that cannot be bound, to the Lord that is the creator of the heavens and the earth. And so take care of this heart. Purify this heart. Understand the depths of iman that your heart can reach. And this is what Amir al-Mu'mineen says, that I have seen my Lord through the depths of iman. The time is going very quickly. I will just suffice with a couple more fada'il of the Imam. We mentioned the tawheed of the Imam. We mentioned the knowledge of the Imam. We mentioned that the Imam would make the most difficult of choices throughout his life with the proper wisdom and with the proper insight. But the greatest honor of Amir al-Mu'mineen was not his charity, was not his knowledge, but rather it was his closeness to the Prophet of Allah. The charity of Amir al-Mu'mineen is something that Allah Himself testifies to. In Surah Al-Insan, Allah says that this is a family يُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ صلوا على محمد وعلى محمد. He says, إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ. That they give ta'am to the miskin, to the faqir, and to the asir. And then their response is, indeed we only give our charity and our beneficence, and we show you mercy. إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ. Not because of something we want or of something we are asking, but only for لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ. لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكورا. Which other mu'min, which other believer, even during the Sahaba, amongst the Sahaba, have this honor in which Allah praises their charity in the Quran itself. So we want to think about the beautiful and the most gracious and the most charitable of human beings, of Muslims. We look at Amir al-Mu'mineen. But that is not the badge of honor that Amir al-Mu'mineen held up high. Rather, the badge he held up high was his closeness and servitude of the Prophet of Allah. He says that the Prophet of Allah, he raised me when I was just a young lad, and even smaller. He took me when I was just a toddler or even younger. And he would hold me close. And he would feed me with his own hands. And I would smell his fragrance. And it is said that Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, وَقَدْ عَلِمْتُمْ مَوْضِعِي مِنْ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ بِالْقَرَابَةِ الْقَرِيبَةِ وَالْمَنْزِلَةِ الْخَسِيسَةِ. You all know my proximity to the Prophet of Allah, how close I was. I would follow his footsteps like a young camel would follow the footsteps of his mother. And he would open up chapters and doors of knowledge upon me through his akhlaq and through his teachings. He would take me to the cave of Hira. And it is said that Amir al-Mu'mineen would never leave the side of Rasulullah. Closeness to the Prophet, but also servitude to Rasulullah. He would not leave his side even in the most difficult of moments. It is said that in the battle of Uhud, when all of the Muslims have left the side of the Prophet of Allah, it is said that Rasulullah looks to his side and he sees Amirul Mu'mineen. Think about this moment when Rasulullah has been left all alone. And it is said that the Prophet of Allah was so angry that beads of sweat would fall from his blessed forehead. And now he looks to Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Ali, and he says, "Oh Ali, why don't you leave along with all of your brothers and your kinsmen?" And it is said that Amir al-Mu'mineen says, "You are my model, O Prophet. You are the one that I will lead my life based upon. And so if you leave, then I will leave. But if you don't, I am going to be by your side." And it is said that Amir al-Mu'mineen struck down the enemy. And then within the heavens, Rasulullah looks and Jibreel says, "La fata illa Ali, wa la sayfa illa dhul faqar." He says, the angels themselves praise Amir al-Mu'mineen. He takes his example from Rasulullah. It is said that the first jama'at that the Prophet would recite, it was with Amir al-Mu'mineen, by his side. And Abu Talib comes and passes by Amir al-Mu'mineen and the Prophet praying together. And he says to his son Ja'far, "Oh Ja'far, why don't you go and pray with them?" And then he leaves smiling. These are the examples that we should remember and we should teach our children. That Amir al-Mu'mineen was a person who would sacrifice his life, his wealth, and everything that he had for the Prophet of Allah. And the Prophet would respond in kind, would give him guidance, would give him knowledge, and would give him that discernment that he needed. And it is said that it is with these words, Imam Hassan, he gives the eulogy and the condolence speech to the believers. It is said that on a night like tonight, when Amir al-Mu'mineen Imam Ali has passed away and he has been buried, it is said that Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, he goes to the masjid of Kufa. Sallallahu alayka ya Rasulallah. Let us prepare ourselves and take our hearts to the city of Kufa, to the city of Najaf. Amir al-Mu'mineen is being buried on a night like tonight. Sallallahu alayka ya Rasulallah. Sallallahu alayka ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. Ya Ali ibn Abi Talib. Sallallahu alayka ya Fatimah az-Zahra. Sallallahu alayki ya Sayyidat Nisa'il Alameen. Sallallahu alayka ya Hasan al-Mujtaba. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah, ya Sayyid al-Shuhada. On a night like tonight, after Amir al-Mu'mineen Imam Ali has been buried, it is said that Imam al-Hasan, he goes to the masjid of Kufa and he says that it is on a night like this that Yusha ibn Nun, the successor to the Prophet Musa, that he died on a night like this. Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Ali, your Imam, has been buried and he has left this world. A man who would never leave the side of Rasulullah, that he would go and fight in every battle of the prophets that he was commanded to. And on his right was Jibreel, and on his left were the other malaika. And this is the man that you have lost tonight. but think about the person that Imam Ali was. Imam Hassan says, and Amir al-Mu'mineen, the Khalifa of the Muslimin and of this Ummah. You might think that he is the ruler of a vast empire. But Imam al-Hassan says he only left a few darahim, a little bit of wealth that he was going to use for his family, that he was going to use to support them. He did not have much wealth left over after all of that long career. And all of that was supposed to go to help and support his family. It is said that on the deathbed, when Amir al-Mu'mineen and the Muslims had been told that these were the final hours of the Imam, it is said that many people would come to the door of Imam Ali. They would come to bid their final farewell. It is said in some reports that even the young orphans of the city of Kufa, when they heard that the Imam can use of some milk or of some sustenance, they would bring the little that they had in offering to the Imam, and they wanted to give their final farewell. And it is said that one of the companions of the Imam, he would gather some of the other companions, Asbagh ibn Mabata. This was a man who was amongst the Shurtatul Khamis, the very closest of companions of the Imam. People who said that we will sacrifice ourselves for the Imam, that we will give our lives and whatever we have in the path of the Imam. If the Imam tells us to go out and fight, we would be willing to fight and die and become martyrs in the path of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Oh, if we only had the tawfiq of being in the company of Asbagh, what would we do? And now Asbagh, along with his companions, come to bid their final farewell. This is the final night of the life of Amir al-Mu'mineen, brothers and sisters. And Asbagh and his companions come to bid their final farewell. But then the call comes from Imam Hassan that Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Ali says that everyone should now go to their homes. What would we do if our Imam rejects us from his door? It is said that his companions, they leave. But Asbagh, he stands beside the door, and maybe he falls to the ground and he holds his knees tight. It is said that Imam Hassan, he now comes out again and he says, "Oh Asbagh, did I not tell you to go back home?" And Asbagh, he responds, he says, "Oh my Imam, oh Hassan al-Mujtaba, I cannot bring myself to leave the side of the Imam. I want to just see him one final time." It is said that the Imam goes back indoors and he asks Amir al-Mu'mineen. And the Imam gives him permission. And so Asbagh comes in and he enters. And it is said that when Asbagh sees the Imam, he sees that there was a yellow handkerchief on the forehead of the Imam, trying to cover the wound. But the face of the Imam the color had been taken away, so much so that he could not tell the difference between the handkerchief and the color of the Imam's skin. And it is said that the Imam was in a terrible state. Asbagh says that the Imam, he would move from one side to the other, and then he would move once again, because the poison was seeping through his body, and it was giving him so much pain and so much difficulty. And then Asbagh says, "Oh my Imam, this is my final farewell to you." And then it is said that when Asbagh leaves, the Imam gathers his children and he sees Imam Hassan, and then he sees Imam Hussein, and he sees Lady Zainab and Kulthum, and all of them are weeping for the Imam, and they are giving their final farewell. But then at one moment, in one report, it is said that the Imam looks to Imam al-Hussein, and Imam Hussein is crying, and tears are falling from his eyes. And Imam, I have not seen this report for any of the other Imams, but the Imam says to Hussein, "Oh Hussein, rabat Allah qalbaka bis-sabr." Oh Hussein, have patience. God has struck your heart and has contained your heart with patience. What did the Imam tell Abu Abdullah? They said that after this moment, Imam Ali, he tells Hassan and Hussein that when you have given the ghusl to my body, when you have prepared my body to take me to my final abode in this world, that you should either take the front of the coffin or you should pick up the back, because the angels of God are also coming to give me my final farewell. And it is said that the Imam, he tells Hassan to take my body to the outskirts of the city of Kufa, and this coffin itself will lead you to my grave. And it is said that when Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, they prepared the body and they gave the ghusl to the body of their father, it is said that when they placed the body in the coffin, they lift up the back of the coffin, and the front of the coffin lifts up, and they are taking the Imam to his grave. And the grave is a place where even Nuh alayhi salam, he is now giving his final farewell. It is said that they find a tombstone upon which it is written that this is the grave of Nuh, the Prophet of Allah, and this is the place of the burial of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib. And he bids his farewell to the Imam. And they place the body of the Imam in the grave. And it is said that the Imam had told Imam al-Hasan to dig a number of different graves. Think about the injustice and the oppression and the innocence of Amir al-Mu'mineen, that they had to hide his grave for generation after generation because his enemies would come and not even spare the body of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Think about the innocence and the zulma of Amir al-Mu'mineen. But whenever we think about innocence, we can only think about Hussein. It is said that one day when Amir al-Mu'mineen was coming, or he was going to the battle of Siffin, he comes across a valley called Karbala. And it is said that Amir al-Mu'mineen, he comes down from his horse and he says, "This is where my son Hussein is going to fall from his horse. This is where my son Hussein is going to fall from the ground. This is where his brother is going to be killed. This is where his followers are going to be killed." And oh Ali, we say our final farewell. Oh Ali, we say our final goodbyes. But oh Ali, we also say that you were surrounded by Hassan and Hussein. You were surrounded by Zainab and Kulthum. Oh Ali, your body was shrouded. Oh Ali, your body had the ghusl. But your Hussein, on the day of Ashura, his body was laid out upon the plains of Karbala. Oh Ali, your body did not have injuries upon injuries, but Hussein, it is said that no part of the body of Hussein was left safe, and it is even said that the enemy soldiers would take their horses and they would trample the body of Hussein. It is said that the neck of Hussein was cut like the sheep would be slaughtered, and it is said that Hussein would be killed as thirsty. And it is said that Zainab would be looking on as Hussein is killed. Who is going to say farewell to Hussein? When he calls out, Hal min nasirin yansuruna? Who is going to save my family? No one responds. وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلِبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ.
شاہ خیبر گیر کا یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، شاہ خیبر گیر کا یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا۔ آج بابا مر گیا ہے شبر و شبیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، شاہ خیبر گیر کا یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، شاہ خیبر گیر کا۔ Everybody together, everybody. یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، شاہ خیبر گیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، شاہ خیبر گیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، شاہ خیبر گیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے نظر میں جانے علی کو کیا خیال آتا رہا، نظر میں جانے علی کو کیا خیال آتا رہا، کیا خیال آتا رہا، منہ کبھی زینب کا دیکھا اور کبھی شبیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، شاہ خیبر گیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، شاہ خیبر گیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، شاہ خیبر گیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا۔ غم علی کی بیٹیوں کے پھر سے تازہ ہو گئے، غم علی کی بیٹیوں کے پھر سے تازہ ہو گئے، پھر سے تازہ ہو گئے، غم بھی بھولی کہاں تھی مادر دلگیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، شاہ خیبر گیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، شاہ خیبر گیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، شاہ خیبر گیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا۔ کیوں چلائی تیغ ہے انہیں ملزم بتا، قتل قرآن کر دیا کاٹا گلا تفسیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، شاہ خیبر گیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، شاہ خیبر گیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، شاہ خیبر گیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا۔ یا رسول اللہ یہ جبریل نے رو کر کہا، یا رسول اللہ یہ جبریل نے رو کر کہا، ہائے یہ رو کر کہا، ایک حلقہ اور ٹوٹا نور کی زنجیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، شاہ خیبر گیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، شاہ خیبر گیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، شاہ خیبر گیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا۔ فاطمہ زہرا کے مرکز سے صدا آنے لگی، فاطمہ زہرا کے مرکز سے صدا آنے لگی، صدا آنے لگی، یہ مصائب رہ گیا تھا کیا میری تقدیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، شاہ خیبر گیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، شاہ خیبر گیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، شاہ خیبر گیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا۔ باپ کی میت سے زینب کر پٹنا بار بار، باپ کی میت سے زینب کر پٹنا بار بار، ہر پٹنا بار بار، دل ہلا دیتا تھا رونا شاہ کی ہمشیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، شاہ خیبر گیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، شاہ خیبر گیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا۔ آج بابا مر گیا ہے شبر و شبیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، یہ جنازہ ہے علی کا، شاہ خیبر گیر کا، یہ جنازہ ہے۔
اٹھا کوئی جنازہ پھر سیدہ کے گھر سے،
اٹھا کوئی جنازہ پھر سیدہ کے گھر سے، اٹھا کوئی جنازہ پھر سیدہ کے گھر سے، اٹھا کوئی جنازہ پھر سیدہ کے گھر سے،
حسرت برس رہی ہے ایک بیک بام در سے،
اٹھا کوئی جنازہ پھر سیدہ کے گھر سے، اٹھا کوئی جنازہ
سیدہ کے گھر سے
جس نے خدا کے گھر کو بخشی تھی آنکھ زینہ
جس نے خدا کے گھر کو بخشی تھی آنکھ زینہ
جس نے خدا کے گھر کو بخشی تھی آنکھ زینت وہ آج ہو رہا ہے
رخصت خدا کے گھر سے اٹھا کوئی جنازہ پھر سیدہ کے گھر سے اٹھا کوئی جنازہ پھر سیدہ کے گھر سے
زینب کے بازوؤں کو شبیر چومتے
ہیں زینب کے بازوؤں کو شبیر چومتے ہیں
زینب کے بازوؤں کو شبیر چومتے ہیں کیا جانیے علی نے
کیا کہہ دیا پسر سے اٹھا کوئی جنازہ پھر سیدہ کے گھر سے اٹھا کوئی جنازہ پھر سیدہ کے گھر سے اٹھا کوئی جنازہ پھر سیدہ کے گھر سے
کوفے کا ذرہ ذرہ روتا ہے خون کے
آنسو کوفے کا ذرہ ذرہ روتا ہے خون کے آنسو
کوفے کا ذرہ ذرہ روتا ہے خون کے آنسو محروم ہو رہے ہیں
حسنین اب پدر سے اٹھا کوئی جنازہ پھر سیدہ کے گھر سے اٹھا کوئی جنازہ پھر سیدہ کے گھر سے مولا
Brothers and sisters, it is 10:30 p.m. We will inshallah recite ziyarat after Amal. Volunteers will come and distribute the turba sajdaga as well as the Quran. So if you don't need to refresh your wudu, please remain in the hall. We'll be starting Amal inshallah in the next 5-10 minutes.